in this particular session, when I'm providing you the overview of communication skill, the major focus will be on human behavior only. So when it comes to an effective communication skill, what kind of skills are required so that it is possible for us to develop a good team at department level, a good reputation with our student, and at the same time, when it comes to developing communication skills and using communication skills at institute level, it is not only the reading and writing that comes into picture, but communication skill also help us to connect with our students. It also help us to connect with our department. So with this particular note, we are going to start our session today. So I am Amandeep Kaur, assistant professor in the department of education and educational management, working in this particular institute since 2014. So I'm a national coordinator for NITTTR module number 3, that is communication skills, modes and knowledge dissemination. Along with it, my core area of specialization is environmental engineering. And right now I'm pursuing my PhD from Punjab University, Chandigarh, in the field of nanotechnology used for water treatment processes. So when, as I said, that in this particular session, the major focus will be on the development of effective communication skill. And moreover, it is not only related to the knowledge of the communication skill, but how we can use communication skill for development of other people's skills. So when it comes to the use of this particular skill, become a one of our personal skill, which is also foundation of human relationship. So when we said what are the different interpersonal skills that comes into picture in our day-to-day life, communication skill is an important skill out of that. So how we interact with the people initially, how we engage our students, how we engage other colleagues in our professional life or even in our personal life, and start conversation with them, and ultimately as a human being, when we leave an positive impact on people, it helps us to develop human relationship. When we are working professionally, interacting with the people, it is must to have effective communication skill. So when I said that when we are working together, interacting with the people, and we must have effective communication skill, my first question to all the members, that what kind of effective communication skill is required when we are working professionally, or in simple words, at institute level, what kind of communication skill to whom you consider as effective communication skill?
We can convey our message properly.
Okay, convey our message properly. Thank you very much, sir.
The language
And
should be in understandable manner. जिनसे communicate कर रहे हैं उनकी language से भी familiar होना चाहिए.
okay, no language barrier need to be there. Thank you very much, Kavita ma'am. Any another member? I have seen in this particular group there are many senior faculty members sitting. Can you repeat it again, sir? Thank you very much, sir. So when it comes, when we are working as a working professional, when we are interacting with the people, we must have effective communication skills. So as a faculty, when I said I need to have effective communication skill, the very first one is the professional way of presenting information. Whether I'm available with my students in class, whether I'm available with the colleague of the same status, or whether I'm communicating with my seniors or with my subordinate at department level, if I am able to effectively communicate my message, if I'm able to communicate effectively the message that I want to present with them, it helped me to develop good human relation with them. At the same time, when it comes to start a conversation with your students, say for example, you are in an induction training program that you have specifically organized for first year student. So those students are very new to this particular setup. Those students are very new to the faculty member and at large to the technical education system. So in induction training program, when we give an effective introduction, not only for the institute, but to the technical education as a whole, it is going to impact, it is going to affect the motivation level of the student. Maybe with the way we are introducing the course, maybe the way we are introducing the practice and policies that you are following at institute level, the way you are giving introduction, that effective introduction has an impact on student performance, and they are willing to do those activities that may be designed for them for the 3 long year period or for the 4 long year period. As a teacher in a class, when I remember the name of my student, I was listening to the last lecture also that was engaged by Dr. Shilpa Suri ma'am. Ma'am said name is the most important or the essential element of any human being. It is your individual personality, it is your individual identity. So when I'm interacting with my student and I remember my students by their name, it again make an impact on my communication, the way I'm communicating with them. If I have a good conversation skill, it means it is possible for me to mentor my student, to counsel my student, to guide my student, because with that conversation skill, students are ready to share their personal information with me. Only then it is possible for me to make a relationship with my student. Or maybe at department, say for example a head of department, if that head of department is able to communicate well, understand the situation of the departmental members, the head of department have empathy toward the team members who are working under him, that head of department is able to develop a very good team at departmental level. So this is how we communicating with our team members or with our departmental faculty. So when it comes to a communication skill, it is not that, as Kavita ma'am said, language barrier need not to be there. Effective communication doesn't mean that we need to speak in English only. Effective communication means if I'm able to convey my message properly to another person, and that person is again interpreting the same meaning of that particular message, so I can say it is possible for me to effectively communicate with my student. As I always said to the faculty members who enrolled for the different programs of communication skill, India is a diverse country, and so our technical education system also is. So, when it comes to communicating with our student, the students may be of a different background, the students may be from the different religion, from the different culture, or from the different societal norms. So, as an effective communicator, it is possible for me to interact with my student initially by using their language, and ultimately with the help of practice or assigning them activities and other tasks, it is possible for me to develop communication in a language that is essential for an industry or essential for an workplace. The basic purpose for a technical faculty is to develop first the technical understanding of the subject matter. After a basic foundation is developed among student population, it is possible for me, with the help of practice, with the help of different activities, to give a flow to the students to communicate effectively in any language you want to prepare your student uh, for their workplace. So effective communication in nutshell means, when it comes to an effective communication specifically for a human relationship, it is not only the language that you are using, it is not only how you are presenting that information, but it is also at the same time how you are going to connect with the people. So effective communication in terms of human relationship means communication and connection. So connection can be created by a teacher, and there are variety of ways by the use of which a faculty can create a connection that become an impactful communication. So, with this note, we are going to start with our session. There is a very famous quote: when it comes to communicate effectively, the criteria for advancement and promotion for professional is an ability to communicate effectively. So, in the introductory part of this particular session, when we said what we mean by an effective communicator, it or basically when as a professional I'm presenting myself, maybe in the meetings at NITTTR Chandigarh, maybe in the lecture or classes at NITTTR Chandigarh, or maybe when I'm interacting with my online participants for different programs, how I'm professionally dealing with them, how I'm communicating with them. I need to be poised, I need to be polished. Only then it is possible for me to have impact on my audiences. So depending upon the situation, with what kind of audiences you are interacting with, based on that, that individual need to plan for the communication. Communication is the human connection and is the key to personal as well as career success. So, as per the literature on communication skill, it is being said that for a successful person, it is only 15% of your knowledge that is that comes in picture. But when it comes to success in a professional world, it is 55% of the people skill that you are using is going to define the success rate of you. So when we said that we are communicating effectively at our workplaces, our success is ensured. So maybe there is a faculty who is very good in terms of their knowledge, who is very good in the different practical aspects of their branch of specialization also. But if the faculty do not have attitude that how he or she is going to respond to a given situation, that faculty may not be able to develop good relationship with the departmental member and with their student. So 15% of the success is defined by the knowledge skill that you carry with yourself, and 55% of the success rate is defined with the help of people skills that you developed over the period of time. With experience also, with age also, it is possible for us to uh, inline our verbal as well as non-verbal behavior. But yes, if one is willing to do so, he or she can become an effective communicator that ultimately help that individual to develop better human relationship with others also. So when it comes to communication skill, in the second slide, when it comes to wait a minute. Yeah, in a second slide, when it comes to communication skill, as sir in the first introductory part said, communication is a process of interaction of ideas between communicator and receiver to arrive at a common understanding for a mutual benefit. Say, for example, in a class, when I'm delivering a lecture, there are variety of students sitting with me. Their learning style may be different. The way they are perceiving information may be different. There may be visual learner, there may be kinesthetic learner, there may be a natural or global learner that is available with me in my class. So as a teacher, when I'm designing different instructional messages for my student, those messages must have relevance for all the students who are sitting with me in a class. Only then it is possible for me to transfer my ideas among my student, and we can develop a common understanding for that subject information. So it is not only the instructional messages that we are delivering. At the same time, sometimes the teacher need to deliver disciplinary information to the students also, or other information related to the extracurricular activity. The way the teacher is designing the message, those messages must have a common frame of understanding. So when I said common frame of understanding, when I'm interacting with 60 students of my class and I'm designing some sort of a message for my student, every student who is available with me in my class must be able to interpret the message in a same way. That is the common understanding of a message. So when it comes to the communication skill, and we said that we are sending information and we are receiving information, it means we are using some sort of symbols and signs. So those symbols and signs may be verbal, may be non-verbal by nature. So when I said a verbal way of communicating, when I'm verbally communicating with all of you in this particular lecture, at the same time you all are able to observe my non-verbal behavior also. So when we are using, so two different modes of communication, verbal and non-verbal. So when we are interacting verbally with our audiences or with our students in a class, at the same time, all are able to observe me. My observe me means you are also observing my non-verbal behavior. So when I'm saying that a message that is being designed by the faculty must develop a common frame of understanding. So as a sender of that particular message, my verbal as well as non-verbal behavior need to be in line. Say, for example, there is one student who is late in my class and he asked permission to enter into a class, and I said to that particular student, yes, come in. So I'm saying, yes, come in, but my non-verbal behavior is, you are allowed to enter in my class, but I'm not accepting your presence at this point of time. So my verbal as well as non-verbal behavior is not aligning. I am giving message to my student that yes, you are allowed to come to my class, but maybe you are late, or I already instruct all the students, do not come late to my class. I'm not going to give you the attendance, but you can come to my class just for the knowledge purposes. So when I'm said come in my class, the symbol need to be yes, you are allowed to come in my class, but I'm saying yes, come in my class. So it means my verbal behavior is saying something else, and my non-verbal behavior is showing another kind of a signal. It means we are not developing a common frame of understanding for the message designed. Another example is, say, for example, when I said communication must develop a common frame of understanding. Say, for example, as a faculty in your class, you said to your student that you have to submit a assignment that is given to you on time, and the time you defined as Wednesday at 4 p.m. And there are 60% of your class students who submit that assignment on time as said by the faculty, and you appreciate those students by word, means by using the verbal behavior you are appreciating your class student that yes, you are able to follow my instructions appropriately. One student in your class, or maybe three or four students, come with an assignment on Friday and you accept that assignment, what kind of message you are giving to your students? जब आपने असाइनमेंट दिया, you give instruction that Wednesday is the last, will be the last date for the submission of an assignment, and 60% of class students submit that assignment, and with the word of appreciation you are accepting that assignment. अगर आपकी क्लास के 6 स्टूडेंट फ्राइडे को असाइनमेंट देते हैं, what kind of behavior need to be displayed by the faculty? Any member?
They should be warned first that this should not be repeated again. They should submit the assignment in time.
Okay, thank you very
First
much.
question, why you are late? Why you are late? What is reason behind that? Any problem?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Any another faculty? For every question, I will collect 3 responses. Minimum 3, maximum maybe any.
मैम जिन बच्चों ने टाइम पे सबमिट किया वो इस दोबारा हमारे असाइनमेंट ले लेने से प्रेस होते हैं कि ये हम लोग के साथ तो थी कि वहाँ हमने टाइम पे असाइनमेंट सबमिट किया था, हमें एप्रिसिएशन तो उस टाइम लगा, इनका भी यही है। इट मींस हम नेक्स्ट टाइम पे इसको बाद में भी कराएंगे तो चलेगा।
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. So
They
there are.
can take penalty of marks also. We can have
Can you repeat it again, ma'am?
we can have a penalty of marks. लाइक जिन्होंने लेट सबमिट किया है उनको जैसे मार्किंग में अफेक्ट दिया जाएगा।
Thank you very much for the responses. So there are three, majorly there are three different kind of facts that is taken by the faculty. One is warning. When said I will ask for the problem, that is empathy, shown empathy towards student. And another is that you maintain the disciplinary actions in the class, and you do not want that kind of behavior to be emulated by the students again and again in a class. So the same kind of message you have delivered for all the students, that is the submission of assignment on time, that is Wednesday, but the different type of behavior shown by the students of your class. So when I said the assignment assignment need to be submitted on Wednesday, it is a disciplinary kind of announcement that you are making for your student. So when you are making a disciplinary kind of announcement, first, as a teacher, we need to develop that kind of behavior among our class students. So maybe first assignment is a non-graded one, and you warn your class student that for the final graded assignment, if you are not able to submit on time, I will deduct 2 marks for that late submission. So it means first I'm developing behavior of my student to show that kind of non-verbal behavior to me. Only then my student come to the conclusion that if for this particular faculty I'm not going to submit on time, this faculty is surely going to punish me in terms of marks. When sir said, I will ask my class student that what kind of problem they are facing, they are not able to submit assignment on time. This kind of response from the faculty to the student help the faculty to develop good rapport, good human relationship with the class student, because the faculty is empathetic, the faculty trying to know the problems of the student. That is again an example of effective communicator. When you said, I'm warning to my class student, you are repeating your instructional action, disciplinary action again to your student. Somewhere as a faculty, you are not able to give alignment to the verbal as well as non-verbal behavior in your class. So warning can be given for the non-graded assignment. For the graded assignment, there is a final line of discussion that the teacher need to give in. The point of discussion is when we said the common frame of understanding need to be developed when we are communicating with number of individuals at the same time, it is a difficult process. Agree or disagree? Because every individual is behaving in a certain way. To develop a common frame of understanding is a very difficult thing. So when we said effective communicator, so if there are 60 different audiences sitting in a class, there is a critical analysis of an information that is delivered by a communicator. So maybe there are 20 to 30 participants who said yes, that person is very good communicator, but yes, in that particular section of individual, there may be 10 to 15% of the individual who said that this particular person is not able to deliver that message effectively, because as a communicator, as a sender of that particular message, I am not able to get connected with those particular individual. So when it comes to an effective communication, it is not only that we are designing messages that developing a common frame of understanding, but at the same time I need to observe the audiences who are sitting with me in that particular hall or sitting with me in that particular class in case of the student. So every individual demand a different set of attention from the sender of the message. So maybe within a particular semester it is possible for me to cater the need of 20 students in a given class. Next class there are 10 students to whom I am able to consider. In my next class it is possible for me to cater the need of all the students. So when we set the message with experience, it is possible for me to communicate effectively and develop good interpersonal relationship with the individuals around me. It always comes with experiences. So when I ask question, there are different kind of replies from the same group of the institute. From the same institute, it means every individual has a different perception about a message. So effective communicator doesn't mean that if you are delivering a lecture or delivering a talk, 100% of audiences consider you as an effective communicator. At the same time, it is not possible for you to connect with 100% of your audiences. As an effective communicator, I need to accept feedback from my audiences also. That feedback, that critical analysis help me to develop more in this particular dimension. सो अगर आपको कोई कहता ना कि आपका लेक्चर अच्छा नहीं है, कलेक्ट फीडबैक. इफ एनी डिपार्टमेंटल मेंबर और एनी फैकल्टी सेड यस इज, जैसे हम लोग कहते हैं ना इनफॉर्मल लैंग्वेज, वी सेड कि उसको तो बात करने का पता नहीं चलता. Always collect that feedback and try to analyze. कि मेरे सबको मेरे बात करने का पता चलता है, व्हाई दिस पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल इज सेइंग कि मुझे उसको बात करने का पता नहीं चलता. So that kind of understanding, that kind of positive attitude we need to have if we want to become an effective communicator. It is not only in our professional life, but in our personal life also. The way we are communicating help us to define our relationship. So with this note, we are going with the next part of this particular presentation. So when it comes to a communication skill, what is communication? As we earlier discussed, it's a process of interaction of ideas between the communicator and receiver to arrive at a common understanding why we are communicating for the mutual benefit. So when it comes to the communication, a process of transmitting information and common understanding from one person to another, it is a process of generating meaning by sending and receiving verbal as well as non-verbal symbols and signs. So when it comes to communication, it is always a two-way interactive process. We are communicating to others, learning how to interpret the information that is received from others. And this is the process of communication. So when it comes to the process of communication, there is always encoding and decoding of the message. So as in the first discussion, ma'am said, there must not be a language barrier when it comes to an effective communication. So when I said we are coding, decoding the messages, that must depends upon in what kind of environment you are interacting with. Okay. So whenever an expert start delivering the session, the experts always asked, in what language you want me to deliver this particular session, either in Hindi or in English. And suppose if any of the audience in a group said, I want to deliver this particular lecture in Marathi, in Punjabi, in Telugu, is it possible for me as an individual to deliver that information in that language also? For me, it is not, because I'm not aware of those regional languages. So, when it comes to an effective communication, and specifically when we are talking about the technical education system, English is a very common language that we use to deliver information. Hindi is the second another language, maybe the first language that we use to deliver that particular information. So when I'm encoding my messages, I need to consider that my audiences in what language they are comfortable with. Say for example, if I'm taking a class of my own subject, that is mass transfer, and there are students from the region of UP, from the remote region, the students who are not well aware of speaking in English or understanding in English, so maybe I need to deliver information in their regional language, that is Hindi. So encoding of messages need to be depends upon in what environment I'm delivering and designing my messages. Decoding, every individual try to interpret the meaning of that particular message, and when that individual is interpreting the meaning of the message, that interpretation needs to be in terms of understanding. So when I said needs to be in terms of understanding, let's ask another question to all of you. When it comes to communication, specifically for a technical student, so we said that in communication, we always use symbols and signs. Do you consider that for every branch of specialization, specifically in the technical communication, there are specific symbols and signs we are using to transfer information? Her branch makes specific abbreviations, specific signs, specific symbols are there.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So, as a faculty, do we consider in all the institutions, in all the engineering, maybe diploma colleges, the focus is on the development of the language? If there is a job placement, if there is an interview for the student, the major discussion is to be the student must able to present information in English. The student must be able to develop a good PowerPoint presentation. The student must be able to take part in a group discussion. But when the student is appearing for a technical round of information, There are, the industry said or the working environment said that your students are not able to identify the equipments, they are not able to read or interpret the engineering drawings, they are not able to understand the abbreviation of a given branch of specialization. So can we say that that particular technical student is a good communicator? हम हमेशा इंग्लिश पे फोकस करते हैं ना कि प्रेजेंटेशन बनानी आ जाए, स्टूडेंट को बात करना आ जाए, द स्टूडेंट मस्ट बी एबल टू प्रेजेंट इंफॉर्मेशन इन अ कॉन्फिडेंट मैनर. बट क्या एज अ टेक्निकल फैकल्टी वी specify that that particular student must be able to know the symbols and signs of that branch of specialization too?
No.
यस
No.
मैम, अब ब्रांच का स्पेशलाइजेशन है तो उसकी सिंबल्स तो उसको पता ही होने चाहिए.
पता होने चाहिए, but
और
whether
कम्युनिकेट
we
करना भी
evaluate that particular student knows about it or not.
काइंडली रिपीट इट फॉर.
Kavita ma'am, you said the student need to know that, but can at departmental level, do we ever done an evaluation that whether this particular student is able to identify the signs and symbols of that branch of specialization? जैसे हम engineering drawing का example लेते हैं, there are variety of lines that we use in engineering drawing.
यस
There are
मैम.
variety of arrows, there are variety of signs that we are using. अगर वो इंजीनियरिंग ड्राइंग में अपने किसी मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट के सामने डिस्प्ले करती हूँ, whether that student is able to give me a response कि ये लाइन, ये एरो, ये स्पेसिफिक सिंबल हम किसके लिए यूज कर रहे हैं, so that is the basic level of understanding in a technical student that we need to develop. मैंने ऐसे भी स्टूडेंट देखे हैं जिनको एसी डीसी करंट के साइंस नहीं पता होते, बट दे आर टेक्निकल स्टूडेंट्स. हम उन्हें कहते हैं 80%, 85%. So when we said communication and when we said coding and decoding of the messages, it is totally dependent upon in what environment we are communicating with. So when if the process of communication doesn't specify on a specific language, communication means in what environment you are creating that kind of a message. So if the student is able to read or interpret those signs and symbol, and at the same time the student is able to present that information in a confident manner, so we can say that particular student is able to develop effective communication skills. It is not only in the case of the student but in case of faculty members also. There are faculty members who are very good in terms of knowledge, who are very good in terms of their skill, but when it comes to present information in front of other faculty member of his or her department only, that faculty is not much confident to develop that information. So somewhere that faculty need to have understanding and need to develop a confidence that how they are able to present information. So process of communication always talk about the encoding and coding of the messages happened in a certain environment, and as an effective communicator I need to consider the importance of that particular environment too. The channel, the by the use of which we are communicating those messages need to be selected by the communicator. So there are technical channels, there are non-technical channels also. So for example, NEP 2020 said integration of technology in teaching learning or integration of technology in all sets of education. But say for example, I am conveying my message with the help of Google Meet. If the technology stops working, what are the other ways by the use of which I can transfer this information to all of you? My channel of communication right now is Google Meet, by the use of which I'm displaying my presentation and interacting with all of you. So अगर अभी Google Meet बंद हो जाए तो मैं क्या करूँगी?
Through telephone line, voice communication directly.
Yes, sir.
Telephone line, voice communication through mobile, cellular mobile, telephone line, landline.
Telephone line, landline, I can transfer my PowerPoint presentation or maybe video recorded lecture to the other faculty and have a feedback session after that. So when we said, thank you very much, sir, for the very appropriate response. So when we said channel of communication, as a faculty. So why I'm focusing on faculty? Because our professional success is totally dependent upon how as a faculty we are. So maybe the technology fails in a classroom environment, I must have another channel of communication with my students at that time. There are faculty members who are delivering information with the help of PowerPoint presentation. If the projector is not working, those faculty members do not have excuse me, those faculty members sometimes struck that they do not have PowerPoint presentation working, it is not possible for them to deliver information. So what kind of disturbance they are facing in terms of channel of communication? So when we are interacting with large number of audiences, or specifically when we are publicly speaking, publicly addressing the audiences, we need to have channel of communication very appropriate. And if those channel of communications are not working, what are the alternate methods that are handy with us to use so that we can make our presentation effective? Another important element in the process of communication is the feedback. So without the feedback, the cycle of communication is not going to be completed. In the second slide, we said communication is a two-way process. Why it is a two-way process? Because for an effective communication, we are obtaining and providing feedback. That obtain and provide of feedback help us to design messages in an appropriate manner. And when we said field of experience means how my members or how my audiences are feeling right now. So when it comes to the field of experience, so there are many faculty members in this group, or maybe when you are interacting with the students or with the faculty members of your class, department, there are head noders. आपने अपने घरों में भी देखा होगा, जब आप कोई बात करते हो तो वो ऐसे ऐसे करते रहते हैं. It doesn't mean that they are accepting the information. They are giving a sign, but as an experienced faculty, you can easily analyze that whether they are physically available with you or whether they are mentally available with you. There are some of the students who are just pretending that they are making notes, but actually they are not. And as a faculty, हम उन messages को absorb करते हैं. In a given class, we sometimes absorb all those kind of messages, but at the same time, we are ignoring those messages also. कभी कभी हम point out करते हैं, and sometimes we ignore those messages also. When we are ignoring, we do not want the class time to be wasted for the rest of the students who are listening to us, who are available with us. When we are pointing out, maybe as a faculty, I consider that this particular information is very essential for my class student, and I want all my class students to be attentive. Field of experience is felt by not only by the sender of the message, but also by the receiver of the message also. So when I said field of experience by the sender, it is the sender who is going to create an environment. Say from 2:30 up to 4, I start delivering my session in a single tone only. I do not interact with all of you. I do not give any non-verbal sign. My hand movement is available with all of you. If I stop doing any hand movement and I am still and I'm just reading information and delivering that information to all of you, maybe you lost your interest in this particular session. So there are some of the faculty members, when they're delivering information, they are very verbative by nature. Verbative by nature means, as a receiver of that message, I felt that this particular expert or this particular faculty is reading information from XYZ source. I am an adult. I know how to read. I know how to speak. If that faculty provide me information, I can read myself. I do not need an expert lecture. So when we said field of experience, as a sender of the message, I'm experiencing something. As a receiver of the message also, there is a different kind of experience that we are considering. So field of experience also plays an important role when we are communicating. Say for example, say, let's take an example of that assignment example only. When said, sir, I will ask my class student that what is the problem that they are not able to submit assignment on time. Maybe one of the student in my class faces a personal crisis. So due to that personal crisis, that student is not able to submit assignment on time. So I can advise that particular student to submit an assignment maybe next week due to this XYZ reason. So am I not able to develop relationship with that particular candidate? जब मैं किसी की पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम को कंसिडर करूंगी इन अ क्लास एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग, आई एम एम्पैथेटिक टुवर्ड दैट पर्टिकुलर स्टूडेंट, आपको नहीं लगता कि आई एम गोइंग टू डेवलप रैपो और आई एम गोइंग टू डेवलप अ रिलेशनशिप विद दैट पर्टिकुलर कैंडिडेट? योर माइक इज ऑन म्यूट, सर. Yes, you're audible now.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. And when said, I will warn that particular student, again, I am giving some sort of experience to my class student. Warning means this particular faculty is not going to accept anything that the student is doing. So there is some sort of discipline the student need to follow in a class. So in that particular case, what kind of experience I am giving to my student with the help of that message? I am developing my image as a faculty who will focus on the behavioral aspects also along with the instructional messages. So field of experiences felt by the sender of the message also and receiver of the message also. What kind of experience you are giving to your audiences that help you to develop relationship with those students or with those individuals. So communication will be completed, or we consider that communication is a two-way process only if we are able to collect feedback from the student and provide feedback to the student. So, say for example, I'm dealing with a very complex subject in my class, and there are many of the class students who are trying to cope up with that complex information. But from their feet movement, I can easily analyze that whether the students are able to understand it or not. So next time, it is an activity that is given to all of you. Next time, when you are interacting with your class student or maybe with a difficult assignment at departmental level, try to observe the hand movement and feet movement of your audiences. Those hand and feet movement help you to analyze that what kind of experience they are feeling. So that can be a one sign, that can be one non-verbal behavior from where we can get feedback. अगर आप टेंशन में होते हो तो कुछ लोग अपने हाथों को ऐसे करते हैं when they are in stress. When we are thinking something, there is a this kind of non-verbal behavior displayed by many individuals. When we are listening something and we are critically analyzing information, we are doing this or we are doing this. It means another individual who is listening to that information is not in line with the information that is provided by you. That individual is analyzing the information. वो अपने दिमाग में कैलकुलेट कर रहा है कि whether you are providing a right information or not. So he is not listening to that information. At the same time, he is analyzing that information also. There are individuals who are head nodding. So sometimes they are available. We can judge from their eye movement also. If they are making eye contact and they are very confident when they are developing eye contact with us, along with the head nod, it means they are physically as well as mentally available with us. So there are many signs that are given by the non audiences in terms of their non-verbal behavior, who help you to define, who help you to analyze that whether you are an effective communicator or not. If your hand movement is open, if your body movement is in control, you are able to develop trust with your audiences. That is the foundation of any human behavior. So when you are listening or when you are interacting with an audience, either professionally or personally, try to decode their non-verbal behavior. That decoding will help you to analyze that what kind of communication is displayed by you and whether that individual is accepting you as a whole personality or not. So that is the first activity that you need to do after the completion of this particular STC. When you're interacting with your class student, try to collect signals. Try to observe their non-verbal behavior to analyze that what kind of information is provided by your students to you for your instructional delivery maybe. So maybe as a faculty, I consider that I'm excellent in terms of communication. इस पूरे सब्जेक्ट की इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे है बिकॉज आई एम डीलिंग विद दिस पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट फ्रॉम द लास्ट 7 to 10 years. But maybe students in my class are not happy with the way I'm providing information to them. So that need to be analyzed. जैसे जैसे हमारे generation gaps हैं, generation change हो रही है, their way of accepting information is also changing. They need information in an another manner. So process of communication will be completed if as an individual you are able to collect information from your audiences. So when it comes to the skills of communication, there are 4 basic skills of communication, that is listening, speaking, reading and writing. But when it comes to communication, the most important thing that we need to have is communication along with connection. Effective communicator may be any, but when it comes to the use of communication for better human relationship, we not only need communication, but at the same time we need connection also. आपने कभी नोट किया why celebrities tell many stories? Either it's a leader or from the Bollywood stars, cricketers. Why there are so many interviews of them? Why they are telling their stories? क्यों अपनी stories बताते हैं वो हम लोगों को? हमें celebrities की बड़ी सारी personal information का पता होता है ना? Whether that is accurate or not accurate, that is another point of discussion. But we are very much interested in their personal information.
For connection.
For connection. People sell their stories to make connection.
Connection and interactive.
Interact. The faculty, yes, ma'am.
To share their experiences.
To share their experiences. Thank you very much, Kavita, ma'am.
To tell their secret of success.
To tell their secrets of success. Thank you very much, sir. So when it comes to an effective communication, communicator, there may be very good communicator in terms of the information or experience they have, but there is a set of societal people who sell their stories. They are selling their stories to make themselves more successful. आपने अक्षय कुमार का सुना होगा, इतनी डाइट करता है, इतना एक्सरसाइज करता है, इतना डिसिप्लिनरी लाइफ है. देन देयर आर अनदर सेलिब्रिटीज आल्सो, क्रिकेटर्स हैं जिनकी स्टोरीज हमें पता है. टेलीविजन सेल्स अ स्टोरी, मीडिया सेल्स अ स्टोरी. इट इज द स्टोरीज हु इज ड्राइविंग द वर्ल्ड. आप वर्ल्ड के फेमस लीडर्स देख लीजिए, आप फेमस सेलिब्रिटीज देख लीजिए. द मीडिया इज फुल ऑफ देयर स्टोरीज बिकॉज पीपल वांट टू कनेक्ट विद देम. They are effective communicator, but at the same time they are able to make connection with large number of audiences by telling their stories, and at large they are selling their stories to us. आज की डेट में there are number of news channels available. आज से 15 साल पहले मे बी दैट मच ऑफ न्यूज चैनल्स और मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म्स वर नॉट अवेलेबल. उस टाइम पे भी हमारे पास सोसाइटी में देयर आर पॉजिटिव थिंग्स आल्सो, देयर आर नेगेटिव थिंग्स आल्सो, बट इन्फ्लुएंस वाज नॉट मच ऑन द पॉपुलेशन बिकॉज देयर वाज lot many stories that were not available easily with the audiences. So जितनी हमारे पास stories available है उतना हमारा influence available है with the society. So when it comes to a human relationship, it is not only the way we are communicating, but at the same time for the development of a human relationship, there is also a connection that need to be developed. आप effectively अपनी story को बता रहे हो, but for what section of society you are telling that particular story. अक्षय कुमार आपको अपनी डाइट प्लान, अपना वर्कआउट रूटीन, अपना उठने का सोने का टाइम बताता है। क्या अक्षय कुमार का आपने कभी किसी मीडिया पे या किसी न्यूज़पेपर पे पढ़ा कि उसके पास कितनी लग्जरियस गाड़ी है, कितनी कार्स हैं उसके पास, कितनी प्रॉपर्टी है, कितने हाउसेस हैं? बिकॉज दैट इज नॉट गोइंग टू मेक कनेक्शन विद द ऑडियंसेस। सो वो उस स्टोरी को सेल नहीं करेंगे, वो उस स्टोरी को सेल करेंगे जो कॉमन पीपल के साथ, मिडिल क्लास पॉपुलेशन के साथ या हमारी लार्ज ऑडियंसेस के साथ उसे कनेक्ट करेगी। They are sharing their success stories because those success story help us to make connection with them and given them fame in return. So जब हम इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन की बात करते हैं स्पेसिफिकली फॉर अ ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप, we need to consider that what kind of relationship building we want. For an professional environment, maybe a different kind of connection is required. For your personal relationship, maybe a different kind of connection is required. In that line only, you are going to design your messages. Say, for example, in this particular session, if I'm start telling you my family stories, will you be interested? मे बी आप 5 या 10 मिनट के लिए वो स्टोरी सुनोगे एंड मे बी इन द नेक्स्ट कोर्स व्हेन आई कम अगेन स्टार्ट इंटरेक्टिंग विद ऑल ऑफ यू आई एम अगेन टेलिंग यू द सेम फैमिली स्टोरी. Are you interested in my family stories? The answer is no, because you do not want any kind of connection. That is my personal life. What kind of connection you want? You want a professional kind of connection. तो जब आप फीडबैक दोगे फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर एसटीसी, दैट फीडबैक मस्ट बी रिलेटेड टू द content that I'm providing to all of you in terms of the topic assigned to me. So when it comes to a human relationship and we are designing messages in terms of as a effective communicator, for what purpose I'm designing that message? अगर आपने अपने स्टूडेंट के साथ कम्युनिकेट करना है, द मैसेज नीड टू बी डिजाइन इन अ डिफरेंट सेंस. व्हेन यू इंटरेक्टिंग विद द हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट, द मैसेज इज डिफरेंट. व्हेन यू आर इंटरेक्टिंग विद योर departmental colleague, the message is different. When you are out from the institute interacting with that same colleague, maybe in a personal function, the way you are communicating is different. So when it comes to the use of communication skill for the development of human relationship, what we need communication as well as connection. And it is you as an individual who is going to decide that what kind of connection is required. So time spent on communication, not communicating 30%, but at that time also we are communicating with ourselves. शिल्पा मैम ने आपको फर्स्ट लेक्चर में बोला था ना कि इतनी भीड़ में हम खुद को पहचानना भूल जाते हैं. दिस इज द लाइन शी सेड इन द लास्ट लेक्चर कि कभी कभी हम खुद से नहीं मिल पाते. दैट इज योर इंट्रापर्सनल communication. When we are communicating with ourselves, when I'm analyzing that what kind of behavior I need to be shown in a given situation, when I'm analyzing that what kind of feeling, what kind of thought was there in a given moment. अब सेम एनवायरनमेंट है. से फॉर एग्जांपल इन योर डिपार्टमेंट, the same kind of environment everybody is facing. There are individuals who are outlash, there are individuals who are very easygoing, there are individuals who are very happy and satisfied. So आपके डिपार्टमेंट में अगर आर्ट फैकल्टी है, सेम तरह के इन्वायरमेंट में वो डील कर रहे हैं, every individual is giving a different kind of response to a given environment. It is how they are analyzing themselves. They are going to decide that what kind of behavior I'm going to show. In the counseling sessions or in day-to-day classes also, many of the students said that I do not interact much because I think that another person is not able to understand me. Some of the students said that their point of interest and my point of interest is different. That is why I'm not much outspoken and I do not want to interact much with the strangers. So उन्होंने communicate करने से पहले ही एक myth या एक हम कहेंगे mental block क्या है? Another individual is not interested in me. Another individual do not want to interact with me. His or my interest is somewhat different. So those particular individual who is having that kind of a mental block need to self analyze the kind of communication you need to develop with yourself. When we are in a professional meetings, you need not to be very outspoken. When I said na outspoken, the kind of information that you need to deliver as per the status of you in a professional world only that much of information you need to deliver. आपको ज्यादा इंफॉर्मेशन, आपको कोई पूछे आपके डिपार्टमेंट का क्या हाल है, आपके डिपार्टमेंट में आजकल क्या चल रहा है, what kind of response as a mature person you need to give? कि आजकल स्टूडेंट्स आ रहे हैं, there are many classes, MSTs were planned and we are planning for the second MSTs also. एक इंडिविजुअल डिसाइड करता है, वो पूरे डिपार्टमेंट का पॉलिटिक्स एक्सप्लेन करने लग जाता है. क्वेश्चन था आपके डिपार्टमेंट का क्या चल रहा है. डिपार्टमेंट मींस व्हाट आर योर एकेडमिक एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिस्पांसिबिलिटीज, हाउ द डिपार्टमेंट इज डूइंग, इज इट डूइंग वेल और देयर आर सम you need to do. So it is the individual who is going to decide that what kind of message he or she need to deliver. So that is when we are not communicating with ourselves, and ultimately when we are not communicating means we need to self introspect that what kind of response or what kind of a reaction I need to give to a given environment. Communicating 70% of the time we are communicating with other, sometimes verbally and sometimes non-verbally. So the four basic skills of communication, this is the amount of time on average we are spending on different skills of communication. In writing and reading we are formally trained. हमें प्राइमरी एजुकेशन सिस्टम में आर फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग स्टार्टेड विद रीडिंग एंड राइटिंग. सो 9% ऑफ द टाइम वी स्पेंड ऑन राइटिंग एक्टिविटीज, 16% ऑफ द टाइम वी स्पेंड ऑन reading skill, 30% of the time we spend on speaking, and listening approximately 45%. But these are the skills in which we do not have an formal training. क्या हमें लिसनिंग एंड स्पीकिंग में कोई फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग मिलता है कहीं पे? स्कूल लेवल पे हमें रीडिंग एंड राइटिंग पे फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है. इन लिसनिंग एंड स्पीकिंग इज देयर एनी फॉर्मल प्रोग्राम और अ फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग दैट इज प्रोवाइडेड इन आवर एजुकेशन सिस्टम?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
No. So that is why when it comes to the development of a human, these informal skills comes into picture. जब हम इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन की बात करते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप, these are the two major skills. One is speaking and another is listening. That plays an important role. Or we can say these skills help us to develop human relationship and at large. So the first skill that I'm going to discuss with all of you is listening. As per the definition, the most basic and powerful way to connect to other person is to listen. Just listen. Perhaps the most important thing we ever give each other is our attention. Sometimes it is being said you are intelligent, that is very good, but sometimes your intelligence is not required in a given situation. Why it is being said? It is being said that sometimes people want you to listen to them, to support them. They do not want any advice. That is the foundation of human relationship. So when we said na, it is an individual who is going to decide that in what way he or she is going to respond. You need to consider the field of experience at that time. Field of experience, say for example there is an individual who come to you with a given problem and you start giving advice to that particular individual. As an effective communicator, first what I need to evaluate that whether that person need advice at that time or that individual needs an support. कोई आपके पास बहुत गुस्से में आया किसी बात को लेके, आप आगे से उसे एडवाइस करना शुरू कर देते. That individual is of your age, that individual is having the same kind of experience, advice is available with that individual also, but that individual at that moment needs support. आपको उसे अपने पास बिठाना है. Give time to that individual to stay calm and then try to develop the kind of behavior you want that individual to display. कोई आपके पास से यू आर द हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट, आपने किसी की लीव कैंसिल कर दी, दैट फैकल्टी कम टू योर डिपार्टमेंट, आपका डोर खोलता है और आपके ऊपर मतलब इरिटेट होके आपको बोलना शुरू कर देता है कि इट इज माई राइट, आपने मेरा लीव कैसे कैंसिल कर दिया, ये क्यों कर दिया, वो क्यों कर दिया, बट आपको पता है कि देर इज एन अर्जेंट एक्टिविटी और अर्जेंट असाइनमेंट दैट एज अ डिपार्टमेंट वी नीड टू सबमिट। आपका एक तरीका हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट का क्या है कि यू सेट दैट फैकल्टी टू गेट आउट फ्रॉम द रूम एंड डू वट एवर ही और शी वॉन्ट्स टू डू। कुछ लोग कहते हैं ना, आप राइटिंग में दे दो, मैं देख लूंगा। That is not the way we need to respond. So listening का human relationship में बहुत बड़ा रोल है। जब हम कहते हैं listening, listen to the whole body. It is not only the verbal message that we are listening, but also the non-verbal behavior we need to listen to before developing any response. That will help us to manage many of the conflicts in our life. So always remember, when we are listening, we need to consider the field of experience. Sometimes people need advice, sometimes people need support. So as an adult learner, as a mature individual, you need to consider whether that individual is requiring your advice or your support. So most important thing we ever give each other is our attention. Listen to the message and try to develop your response appropriately. Listening is an important aspect or an important skill for the development of human relationship, and but 70% of all communication is misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, distorted, or not heard. Can anyone from the group give reasons for these things? Why 70% of communication is misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, distorted, or not heard?
Due to not listening properly.
Not listening properly, okay.
पूरा नहीं सुनते हैं, पूरा
पूरा
नहीं
नहीं सुनते,
नहीं
okay.
बोलते।
Listening but not decoding properly.
Thank you very much, sir. So it as per literature, ये मैं points नहीं लिख रही हूँ. As per the literature, it is said most of the communication is misunderstood, misinterpreted, rejected, distorted, and not heard. And many of you already replied that individuals think they are not listening properly. It means they are not a good listener. They consider hearing and listening are the same thing. It is difficult to learn how to listen. Intelligent people are always good listeners, and listening improves with age. So when it comes to hearing and listening, and you said वो पूरा नहीं सुनते because they already make their mind that what kind of response they are accepting. If your response is not in line with what they want, they are not going to listen you 100% of the time. There are situations when we are interacting with an individual, हमारी बात अभी खत्म नहीं हुई होती, उस individual का response पहले आ जाता है. Or you have not developed your viewpoint yet, that individual already make a decision. So it is clear that that individual do not have training or that individual is not a good listener. So सबसे पहले जो ability हमें develop करनी है for a better human relationship is ability to listen. Control your urge to give response in a given situation. Let them finish. Once they finish, then give your viewpoint. तब भी मैं कह रही हूँ आपने अपनी बात नहीं कहनी. You are not going to make a final call for that discussion. You are going to give the viewpoint or your perception for a given situation. It is another individual who is going to decide what he or she wants to do. Nobody is controlling nobody. Listening में second rule हम कहते हैं nobody is controlling nobody. So when I said intelligence, I may be intelligent in my subject matter, but I may not be intelligent in different people's skills. I may be very good, I may be very sharp when it comes to my profession, but I may not be very good or an effective social person. So when it comes to listening, nobody is going to control anybody. So try to listen to that individual fully And after the conversation is over, give your viewpoint, not a final decision. This is how we can make a connection. So when it comes to the development of listening, the first thing that we need to understand as an individual is hearing and listening are not the same. Hearing is a passive process, and we are hearing all kind of noises that is happening around us. When it comes to the listening, listening is a mental process and it is a physical process. So when it comes to the listening, it is a conscious activity based on three basic skills. The very first one is attitude of that individual, attention of that individual, and adjustment. So can I give a very small activity to all of you? I hope you all are carrying your pen and paper with you.
Yes, ma'am. We have
Or
pen.
maybe on your smartphones also you can write.
एक्टिविटीज है टेबल पेन रख लो पास में सब।
सर आप अपना स्मार्टफोन भी यूज कर सकते हैं, नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर पेपर पेन नहीं है तो यू कैन राइट ऑन योर मोबाइल ऑल्सो, टाइप ऑन योर मोबाइल ऑल्सो. A very simple activity is you need to write 5 names from your personal circle, maybe your family, maybe your friend, to whom you consider that they are very good listeners. आप ऐसे 5 नाम लिखेंगे अपनी कॉपी पे जिनका आपको लगता है कि दे आर वेरी गुड इन टर्म्स ऑफ लिसनिंग स्किल्स. I'm not going to ask name of those individual, but be true with yourself. आपने 5 नाम आइडेंटिफाई करने हैं जो आपको लगता है कि yes, they are very true listeners, and if you have any problem, anything to share, you directly go to them. आप में से कितने लोग हैं जिन्होंने 5 नाम लिख लिए हैं? 5 people.
It is very difficult to find 5 names for many of them.
Can you write 3? Okay. जो आपने 3 नाम लिखे हैं, do you think that whenever there is a problem, whenever there is a critical situation with you in your life, they are always be ready to advise you or to support you? वो आपको एडवाइस करेंगे या सपोर्ट करेंगे? उन 3 नामों में से आप डिफरेंशिएट कर लीजिए, कौन एडवाइस करेगा, कौन सपोर्ट करेगा? इन योर क्रिटिकल सिचुएशन आपको कौन सपोर्ट करेगा, कौन एडवाइस करेगा? सपोर्ट मीन्स 100% सपोर्ट. अगर आप गलत भी हो तो भी वो आपको सपोर्ट करेगा.
एडवाइस ज्यादा वाले हैं.
टीचिंग प्रोफेशन में एडवाइस वाले ज्यादा हैं मैडम टीचिंग प्रोफेशन में एडवाइस देने वाले ज्यादा हैं.
Sir, I'm not able to listen to you.
हेलो.
Yes.
हाँ, टीचिंग प्रोफेशन में एडवाइस करने वाले लोग ज्यादा हैं.
टीचिंग प्रोफेशन नहीं सर, मैं आपका पर्सनल का बात कर रही हूँ, मैं प्रोफेशन की बात ही नहीं कर रही. प्रोफेशन में तो आपको 3 ढूंढने भी मुश्किल हो जाते. That is why I am saying personal.
फ्रेंड और फैमिली मेंबर सपोर्ट करेंगे.
फैमिली मेंबर सपोर्ट करेंगे इन योर राइट एंड योर रॉन्ग ऑल्सो.
एंड बेस्ट फ्रेंड सपोर्ट करेंगे.
Advice भी करेंगे. So thank you very much, sir. Now the purpose of this particular activity is, when we said listening is an conscious activity, and I said write 5 names. It is very difficult for all of you to identify. It means आपकी जो पूरी family है, there may be 20 to 25 family members or other relatives. it is very difficult for us to identify 5 names who listen to us all the time. Listening means they are listening not only the verbal tone but also your non-verbal behavior. कुछ कहते हैं ना फेस से कि आप बड़े थके से लग रहे हो या आप किसी टेंशन में लग रहे हो. They are listening to your whole body. It is not only the verbal message that you are conveying, but they are listening to the whole body. So they are the active listener in case of you. There are 3 members or maybe 1 or 2 members who will support you in any critical situation or in any time of crisis. So sir said the family members will support in any situation or in any case. They will support you, they will advise you. It means it is not only the communication. आप उन 5 लोगों से communicate कर रहे हो, but there are only 1 or 2 members with whom you are able to make connection. समझ रहे हो? ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप इज इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन अलोंग विद कनेक्शन. तो हमारा रिलेशनशिप डेवलप कब होगा? व्हेन वी आर एक्टिवली लिसनिंग टू एन अनदर इंडिविजुअल एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू मेक कनेक्शन विद दैट पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल. अब आपके से देयर आर पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, उन पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के मेन लीडर्स हैं. देयर इज वन लीडर हु इज एबल टू डिलीवर स्पीचेस, एड्रेस द पब्लिक इन अ कॉन्फिडेंट मैनर. तो उसका एक लोगों के साथ एक कनेक्शन बनता है. Due to that connection, that individual is having a very high success rate. There is another member जिसकी पार्टी के पास सारी support है, but that individual is not able to deliver publicly in a confident manner. वो कहीं अपनी storytelling में that individual is not very good. That individual is not able to cater the needs of the public or address or observe the needs of the public. So जब हम कहते हैं human relationship में listening, and listening means you are supporting an individual to develop and response, it means you are aligning with verbal as well as non-verbal behavioral needs. So जो listening हमारी conscious activity है उसमें सबसे पहली बात हमारी क्या आती है? Attitude that we need to develop. So it is not only the message that you are going to design, but at the same time with the help of message, what kind of connection you are making to develop. So listening form the basis of continuing learning, teamwork and management skill, and for this we need empathy. For this we need to become an active listener. And communication का सबसे major role जो मुझे मतलब अगर कोई मुझे पूछे ना what is the major principle to become an effective communicator, I will simply say learn to respond, not to react. Another individual may be in a different situation, maybe of a different mood, maybe of a different behavior. If you are able to control your verbal as well as non-verbal body language, it is possible for you to become an effective communicator. So always learn to respond rather than to react. So these are the 3 major things that we need to consider while using listening skills if we want to develop good relationship. Empathy doesn't mean that you are agreeing. Empathy doesn't mean that you are giving in. Empathy means you do not dismiss what your partner say as ridiculous or silly. So whatever the another person is saying, I'm empathetic with that particular person. It means I'm listening to that information, but at the same time, I am not absorbing that information. मैं उससे 100% agree नहीं कर रही हूँ, but just that be individual come in a calm situation. That is why I am listening to that particular information. So the very first thing that we need to consider is empathizing. So how as an individual, वैसे ये मैं activity कराती हूँ since the time is very less. आप कैसे जज करोगे कि आप empathetic हो कि नहीं? Your body language and tone will match. Your tone and the feeling will be is going to match. You are focused on what your partner is saying and meaning it. So आप conclusion पे नहीं आ रहे हो. You are giving a room to that individual to discuss. Another is be an active listener. Active listener means a way listening and responding to another person that improve the mutual understanding. Paying attention to other people that can make them feel that you are hearing them. This type of listening is called active because it requires certain behavior of the listener. So I will show you What are the different steps of active listening? First is listen, question, reflect, paraphrase, and agree. Sometimes the individual is trying to give another message, but with the wrong selection of the tonal voice or with the wrong selection of the word choice, that individual is not able to deliver that message in an appropriate manner. So that is why it is being said, whatever message is conveyed to you, ensure that message, specifically if the individual is not feeling well or not feeling fine. In that particular case, you need to reassure that is this the same message, or is it the meaning of the message that you need to interpret in a given situation. Only then affirm that, or only come to the conclusion that what kind of message is being displayed. If you are not able to understand the message given to you, question again and again, and once you confirm, only then agree. So listening is not a simple activity. You are mentally involved in that particular process. Only then we are able to agree with the sender of that particular message. So listening and hearing are not same. So when we said use varying voice notations, I see, right, okay, sure, yes, wow, really. So these kind of voice notation help another individual to understand that yes, you are listening to him properly. So now see the cartoon character, you can stop saying or using the voice notation, I stopped talking to you an hour ago. That is why it is being said, when you are listening to the whole body. So that individual is that cartoon is reading a newspaper, but at the same time he is responding either by using the voice annotation, but another individual is facing offended because she knows that individual is not listening to him. So always listen to the whole body. Non-verbal behavior, you always observe. Non-verbal behavior will provide you the feedback. When you are listening to somebody, always question. But again, when you are questioning, it is totally dependent upon in what kind of environment you are. If you are in your professional setting, question as per your hierarchical status. Head of department can ask 30 questions to a given faculty, but a given faculty cannot ask 30 different questions to the management. So, in a professional environment, questioning has a different meaning. In a personal environment, questioning has a different meaning. Sometimes, too many questions annoys an individual. So, appropriate amount of questioning need to be there when you are listening to an individual. So, question if the information is not assured. Otherwise, refrain from the extra questioning. Reflect and paraphrase. Reframe why you do it and how you do it. Then don't parrot back. Be sure to put the message in your own word. That is active listening. So you are not here to memorizing information. You are here to understand that information. That is the role of the active listening. Acknowledge problem solving might not work in face of the strong feeling. Feeling may need to be acknowledged before effective problem solving. जब कोई गुस्से में है, in that particular case, that individual is not able to understand the whole message. If an individual in a very high happy state, again that individual is not able to understand the full meaning of the message. You need to be calm. You need to be think upon that information. Only then it is possible for you to acknowledge that information. So always observe, always analyze your feeling. After analyzing the feeling, try to give response to a given question or try to make decision in your professional as well as personal life. So that is the way it is possible for me to develop good relationship. So for speaking, when it comes to the speaking, it is again the art of communication. So good speaking skill is required if you want to have an effective communicator. At the same time, you need to develop good human relationship. So what are the different essentials of speaking? Verbal 7%, tonal quality of voice 38%, and again non-verbal behavior plays an important role. So 55% of the message is conveyed with the help of non-verbal behavior. So another hint that I would like to give all of you, whenever you are publicly addressing, either in your class, out of your institute, any as a faculty, whenever you are delivering information, the very minor thing that you can add to your presentation is your eye movement. You are sitting in a confined room, you set two different points in a given location, try to move your eye from that point to another point. So maybe one wall on the right or another wall on the left. From that up to that wall, I will make an eye movement. So public speakers do this. They do not. Audiences are thinking that they are making eye contact, but they are just moving their eyes, and we are thinking that they are making eye contact with us. Another hint for a good public speaking is your hand movement always need to be open. So when I said open, these are my open hand movements. So when I'm saying controlled body language, the person is coming in, the person is going out. So my palm is facing toward the audiences. So that open hand movement help us to develop interest among audiences and help us to develop good rapport and trust with our audiences. If the hand movements are closed, so that is defensive. Say my hand movement is like this, so that is a defensive kind of a body language. If my hand movement during the session is like this, if my hand movement is like this, it means I am not accepting my audiences. So that body language is considered as an defensive body language. Your body must be open, your hand movement must be open towards your audiences. That help us to develop trust and rapport among the audiences. So these are the two tips I want you to carry whenever you are addressing publicly. This you can use also. So specifically when it comes to the development of the speaking skill, this is the HAIL that we need to use. HAIL means honesty, your attitude, integrity, and loyalty. So these are the four things that we need to carry when we are speaking. Say, for example, you are interacting with 100 students of your class or at an institute, and there are few questions that is asked by the student, and as a faculty you do not know the answer of that particular statement or the question asked by the student. So in the age of information, when abundance of information is available with the student, certainly it happens that some information is not available with us as a faculty. So honestly, we need to give reply to that particular students. I may be ready with that information in your tomorrow's class. I need to learn that information first before providing the correct answer of your question. So while publicly speaking, always be honest. Show your attitude towards audiences. So when I said attitude, it is totally dependent upon your interest in that particular topic. Say, for example, at this particular moment, I'm engaging the session of effective communication for better human relationship. Why this particular lecture is being assigned to me? Because of the experience, because of my practice in this particular session. So that kind of attitude I'm displaying to my audiences also by giving certain examples. Publicly speaking में I cannot come without preparation. अगर मेरे पास 10 फैकल्टी बैठे हैं, 60 फैकल्टी बैठे हैं, 100 फैकल्टी मेंबर्स बैठे हैं, it is not that I will come without preparation. I need to prepare my session beforehand. Only then I can deliver this particular talk in a confident manner. See, your attitude means acceptance of that audiences need to be there. If you are not willing to take that session or engage that session, be very honest. Your attitude need to be reflected in an audiences to whom with you are interacting. Integrity, whenever you are using information of another speaker, always give reward to that particular speaker or written information we have collected many a times from different resources. So that resources need to be there. Be loyal with your presentation. So when we said be loyal while speaking with the public, the first thing that we need to consider is time. 2:30 session start at 4 o'clock, the session need to be end. Time management need to be there. When the audiences are asking, give time to your audiences to ask questions. If the questions are not there, maybe the participants are able to understand fully, or maybe you was very interactive throughout the talk, but always give time to your audiences to ask questions. So that kind of behavior need to be there when it comes to speaking. So sometimes we are not able to deliver in an effective manner. Maybe it is due to the information gap. Maybe it is due to the experience. Maybe it is due to the knowledge gap, or maybe it is due to the different kind of opinion that is faced in that particular audiences. So by the use of which it is possible for us, by collecting this kind of information, it is possible for us to communicate effectively with our audiences. So specifically at institute level, when we are communicating with our colleague, build your presentation skill, engage your audiences, develop a presence using technology to communicate. So remedies for the improvement of human relationship by the use of communication: development of inner urge. Development of inner urge means try to know other individuals also. Need to enrich your vocabulary and sentence construction. Use the 4 basic skills of communication, that is listening, speaking, reading and writing, depending upon in what context you are writing messages. So thank you very much all of you.